What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to bring you another one of my 2014 WCQ hat format deck profiles. The deck I wanted to show off today is Baby Raccoons, or as I would call it, just a raccoon pile. And the reason I say that is because this deck plays a bunch of different random engines and things with still the baseline of using your baby raccoons and being able to summon some powerful synchro monsters and things that the deck Raccoons was known for. I had a bunch of people ask me for this deck profile, so I am excited to show this off. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. This deck is really teched out and has some really cool things, but in order to understand how this deck works, we need to first start with the spell card that was just on the screen, and that is 3 copies of Obedience Schooled. This is the heart and soul of this deck, and what really makes this deck kind of go crazy. If you see this card in your opener, you're probably going to end on some really nice fields. So what this does is if you control no monsters, you can special summon 3 level 2 or lower beast type effect monsters with different names from your deck. Their effects are negated, and they are destroyed during the end phase. And then if you activate this card, for the turn, you cannot special summon monsters except beast type monsters. So keep that in mind, and it's special summon beast type monsters. So you can still normal summon non-beast type monsters, but you can only special summon beast type monsters the turn you use this. I'm going to set this card to the side because this will come up a lot in the examples of why I'm playing certain cards, but this is the heart and soul of the deck. Starting off with the monsters, we play 3 copies of Baby Raccoon Tantan. This is like the best raccoon by itself, simply because it's a flip effect that you special summon a level 2 beast type monster from your deck except itself. So this allows you to either tutor out some of your other beast type monsters that you might need, as well as keeping you alive if your opponent is trying to put pressure on, and it keeps a monster on your field. What you usually summon off of Tantan is one of your 2 copies of Calentosa. What this does is if it's special summoned by the effect of a beast type monster, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. So basically if your opponent attacks into this, you can then special this and pop one of their cards, which is really, really good. After that, 2 copies of Key Mouse. When it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can add a level 3 or lower beast type monster from your deck to your hand. That's not really relevant, but what is relevant is it's a level 1 Earth Tuner, which some of your synchros need Earth Tuners, and this is the level 1 target. It has a lot of other usages, but in general, very, very good card. Then for some of the one-ofs, we play 1 Baby Raccoon Pompoko. When this card's normal summon, you can special summon a level 2 beast type monster from your deck in face down defense position, except itself, and then you can't special summon monsters the turn you activate this, except beast type monsters. The reason we only play 1 of this is because there are other normal summons in this deck that we'll get to in a little bit, and this one just isn't as good as it used to be back in the day for those reasons. It'll make a lot more sense when you see some of the other stuff this deck plays, but still a very good card. 1 copy of Wind Up Kitten, being able to bounce face-up monsters, or just monsters in general, to the opponent's hand, so really cool card there. 1 copy of Elephant. This one is kind of like Key Mouse, except when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you add one of your level 3 or lower beast type monsters that's banished. So it kind of has a place with Barkion that's in the extra deck that will banish your cards in graveyard, but really it's just there, similar to Key Mouse, because it's a level 2 Earth Tuner. So really good card. I'll talk more about that one in a little bit too. And the last card basically for the Obedience School targets is 1 copy of the Fabled Cerberus. When it's discarded, it special summons itself, and this is more so, it's another tuner, but it's more so used for one of the synchros in the extra deck, but just a good card in general. Moving on, we play a small hand package, 2 copies of Fire Hand and 2 copies of Ice Hand. We play these just to break boards, so if you don't see your Obedience Schooled, you can still grind with some of the other decks. I know this deck plays a lot of those weird beast monsters that can be sort of bricky in some situations, so having the hands to insulate that is very important. For hand traps, we play 2 copies of Max C and 2 copies of DD Crow. Just being able to draw cards is really important. You'll see why a bit later on. And then DD Crow as more interruption. So that's why I also say this is sort of a pile deck, because you're playing all this extra stuff, but it's just good utility so that you can stay in the game against some of those more consistent grindy decks. Now, here's where the deck gets very interesting, and why I like this deck a lot. And that is because I'm choosing to play 2 copies of Beast King Barbaros and 2 copies of Goblinderberg. So this might seem very strange. Obviously, Beast King Barbaros, you can normal summon it without tributing, but its attack becomes, I believe, 1900, whereas usually it's like a 3000 beater. And then you also have the option, you can tribute summon it by tributing 3 monsters, and when it's summoned by that, you can destroy all cards your opponent controls. And Goblinderberg, when it is normal summon, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand and then change this to defense position. So this needs the most explaining to do, but pretty much what's cool is going back to Obedience Schooled, what you're able to do is if you see these plus Obedience Schooled, you're able to use, let's talk Barbaros first. You can Obedience School into 3 of your monsters, and then if you want to, you can tribute all 3 and go into Barbaros and blow up your opponent's board. Or what you can also do is go Obedience Schooled and then normal summon the Barbaros without tributing, and then say you summoned like a level 2 tuner plus 2 other level 2s, you're able to synchro this and the level 2 tuner into Leo, one of the extra deck monsters, and go into one of your Xyz monsters that is the main Raccoon Xyz that will get you a token equal to the attack of the monster with the most attacks. So you'll have 2 3100 beaters on the field. So that's one really cool thing you can do with the Barbaros. Well, I guess 2 things, the tributing or being able to do that play. And then what you can also do is Obedience Schooled plus Goblinderberg allows you, worst case scenario, you Obedience Schooled and you go into 2 level 2s and your Key Mouse, and then normal summon this, and Key Mouse plus this makes Naturia Beast, and then you can use the 2 2s to go into your Raccoon Xyz and then get a token for however much attack the Naturia Beast has. That's one play. Or you can do the same thing but go for a level 2 Elephon, and then this is an Earth, so this plus the Elephon make Barkion, and then the other 2s go into a Raccoon Xyz and then get a token with that much attack. You also have the option, how I mentioned Obedience School only locks you into special summoning beast monsters the turn you use it. What you're able to do is use the effect and summon your different cards or whatever, and you can basically then normal the Goblinderberg and special summon one of your beast monsters from hand, so that way you're only still special summoning beasts, and then you can just go into whatever you want from there. And like even another situation is if you have Goblinderberg plus Key Mouse, you can just summon this, use the effect, special summon Key Mouse and make Naturia Beast. Or if you have Elephon, you can do, this plus the Elephon into Barkion. Just so much utility in those alone. Like I kind of almost want to make just a combo video to talk about all the different lines these cards open up, and I haven't really seen anyone choosing to play those type of ratios in this deck, so it kind of gives it a really nice explosive aspect to the deck. And then going back to somewhat of a more standard thing, the last monster is 1 copy of Junk Synchron, being able to, on normal summon, special summon one of your level 2 or lower monsters from your graveyard in face-up defense position, and it has its effects negated. So usually you just summon this, summon back one of your non-tuner level 2s, and go into a level 5 Synchro. Really good card. Moving on to the spells, 2 copies of MST, 1 Soul Charge, and 1 Ayers Rock Sunrise. This card is basically a Monster Reborn for your Beast-type monsters in Graveyard, and then all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls lose 200 attack for each Beast, Plant, and Winged Beast-type monster currently in your Graveyard until the end of the turn, and then you can only activate 1 per turn. What's cool about this is there's no restriction besides summoning a Beast, so this allows you to summon back, say, your Leo from Graveyard, or your Naturia Beast from Graveyard, or, like, worst case scenario, you're just summoning back a level 2 or level 1 of your normal beast monsters just to keep going into, like, Xyz or other things, as well as weakening your opponent's monsters, because usually you know, off of 1 Obedience School, that's already 3 monsters to make them lose a bunch of attack, so that's pretty cool. You don't play a lot of spells in this deck. Like, if any change to this, maybe I'd play, like, another MST or something, but besides these and obviously the Obedience School, that's all you really need. For the trap cards, 3 copies of Fiendish Chain. Sorry, I just dropped those everywhere. This is just a good card, obviously negating effects and then also stopping attacks. I almost considered playing Waboku, just because, like, if you set a Tantan, they attack, you Waboku, the monster won't be destroyed, and then you can summon another monster like your Kalantosa, pop a card, and that won't be able to be destroyed by battle this turn either because of the Waboku, and then you have access to that. But I just figured Fiendish Chain is, like, overall better. I'm also playing 2 Breakthrough Skills, so sort of like a Geargia lineup in terms of the actual monster negation. And then the next card is very interesting. The reason I'm playing this next card is because I saw a couple lists from way, way back in the day, and I thought it was interesting, and I tested it out, and it was actually, like, kind of decent, though in the future I could see myself cutting it just to play other things, but at the same time I do kind of like it, and that is 2 copies of Mistake. Basically, neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand except by drawing it. This deck doesn't search at all. That's also why I say Max C is good, because it's a card that allows you to draw, but this will shut down, like, Spellbooks. It'll shut down any deck that's playing things like Pot of Duality, Traptrix Mermail. It can stop the decks that play Tenkies and things. So just a really strong card that slows down the game. And if you're able to see, like, Obedience School plus this, you're able to set up, like, a Nat Beast or something, plus the Mistake, so they're not able, like, you can protect it from your opponents, like MSTs and other things. Obviously, this deck does have a slight problem against hands, but that's also another reason why Fiendish Chain is just so good in this deck, because it'll stop the attack as well. Other traps, 1 Compulse, 1 Warning, and 1 Wiretap. I do like Wiretap. This deck is at 41. If not, I'd probably play another one of these. But it's not, like, super necessary, especially with the fact that a lot of our extra deck monsters are spell and trap negates. And speaking of extra deck, let's go there. 1 copy of Leo, Keeper of the Sacred Trees. I almost want to play 2 of this because it comes up in so many situations. Like I said, Obedience Schooled plus Goblinderberg, Obedience Schooled plus Barbaros, like, just so many things, and there's just a lot of other ways too, but I think 1 is completely fine. 1 Barkion, being able to negate trap cards by banishing cards in your graveyard, is very strong. 2 copies of Naturia Beast, being able to mill the top 2 cards of your deck to negate and destroy spell cards. So that's also really good. This comes up the most out of between Barkion and Beast, so that's why 2 is really good, and usually your opponent expects you to only be playing 1, so when you have the second as an option, it's just really good. 1 Armades and 1 Junk Warrior. These are your 5s, obviously make sure your attacks go through, and then Junk Warrior, because all your monsters, for the most part, are level 2s and weak, and once we get into the Raccoon Xyz, it summons tokens that are level 1, I believe, and so this will gain the attack of all your level 2 or lower monsters on the field, so this thing can get really big and just push for game. And the last synchro I'm playing is 1 copy of Fabled Unicorn. This is why we play the Cerebral, and it needs a Fabled Tuner, and what it does is if you and your opponent have the same number of cards in hand, it basically is going to negate all your opponent's spell trap and monster effects, and that doesn't activate. It just is a resolution card. So against decks like H.A.T that just set everything and use their whole hand right away, this forces basically so that they have to stop this before it really comes out. Or you can just kind of manipulate your field, because usually you can just empty your whole hand out onto the field, or just get to the same number of hand size and make this, and it just omni-negates everything they have. So really good card. And then for a couple Xyz, we do play obviously Goblin Durberg and hands, so we do have some 4 options. So 1 101, 1 Exciton, 1 Emerald. This card's actually really good to put back things for your Obedience Schooled or your hands and different things. 1 Dweller, and that's it for your rank 4s. For your rank 2s, only a few. I play 3 copies of Ronin Raccoon Sendayu. Some people, I've seen some builds like play only 1 of this. I've seen a lot of builds play 2. I could see myself going into 2, but with 1 Obedience Schooled, usually you're going into potentially 2 of these, because like if you have a normal summon plus your Obedience Schooled, that makes double of this, or like with any of those other combos, there's so many opportunities to make multiple. So having 3 is really good, but like I said, I'd probably cut this down and maybe play like a second Leo or some other like utility rank 4s, for example, like a Downward Magician or something. What this does is once per turn you detach a material from this card and special summon 1 Raccoon token or whatever. It's a level 1, and its attack and defense, or its attack becomes the attack of the highest monster on the field. So basically, like how I said with Leo, it's a 31, so if you have this and a Leo and you use the effect, the token will have 3100 attack. And then while you control another beast type monster, this card can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So if you make a lock with this, it's kind of like the Hopper lock back in the day, or dupe lock, where, well, I guess not in that sense, because your opponent can still attack this, so you have to be careful if your opponent makes like a Gaia Dragon or something. But this won't be able to be destroyed by battle or card effects. So if you have 2, both are immune, and then you can just use the effects and make big tokens. There's combos with Obedience Schooled, like I said, where you can just make this plus a big monster. Like 1 Obedience Schooled plus a normal summon can get you like double of this. It can get you Natria Beast plus this. It can get you Barkion plus this. Just so many combinations. And the last Xyz I'm playing is 1 Herald of Pure Light. This you could honestly cut. It only really comes up with Soul Charge. The problem with it is it's not a beast, so like when you Obedience Schooled, you can't use this. But it is just a good card after you Soul Charge. There's a couple other situations where it comes up, but it's not really needed. But anyways, guys, that is it for this deck profile. If you guys enjoyed, definitely let me know in the comment section and leave a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified anytime I put a new video out. Share this video with your friends. And anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.